Hello everyone, this is Crystal Putta from Prayerful Arts. As you can tell by my very colorful workspace, I have been busy writing a lot of Pysanky. I am getting ready for a couple of art shows that I will be going to sell my art, and in addition to that, I'm also selling my art at a new gallery that is in Central Illinois called the Art Corner. And I'll talk about that more in a little bit. But what I want to talk about today was, how do I display my eggs when I take them to an art show? And I've been doing this for a number of years. I used to put all the eggs on the little stands that looked, they look like this, these little clear acrylic stands. I would set the eggs on them. The problem with that was that if someone bumped one, putting it back on the stand, they would all kind of fall. So that was kind of dangerous to do it like that. So what I have found is what's best for me is to put them in a basket. So I have a number of baskets. This cute one with a bird. Let's see. Okay, I tried to adjust the camera, but it didn't work. Anyway, so I got this one with a little bird on it. It's a metal one, so you do have to be careful when you put the eggs in that one. And I do put this fluffy stuff in there. I have a square one, and I have a round one. I have different sizes. I have a basket that is two baskets, one on top of each other, and I'll show some pictures in a minute of different setups that I've used. But I just put the eggs in here, kind of like this. This is probably what takes the longest in my setup, is, you know, I just put a couple different eggs in there, and then people can come up. My philosophy is I want people to be able to pick up the egg. I don't want them to be afraid of it. If they're afraid of it, if they're like, oh, I'm going to break it, then they're probably not going to purchase it. But if they can see, you know what, it's light, it's okay. And I do have a display stand if I put the little toppers on them that I can hang them from like a little tree too. That's another thing that I use. And then I have boxes that I will put them in if someone buys them. That is what I will do for the chicken eggs, and I will also put my goose eggs like that. Any egg that I have that is bigger is in a basket that has a deeper side, and it's also back a little closer toward me. One of the things I try to do whenever I set up at an art show is I want the eggs to be in front of me, so I'm behind the table. And usually I just have one table, maybe an L shape, but I want to see what's coming at me. I want to see someone coming toward me. I don't stand in front of the table. And the reason I do that is I don't want somebody to sneak in behind me and say, oh, is this real? Tap, tap, tap. Yes, it's real. Don't do that. You'll break it. And you wouldn't believe people that do that. But anyway, so this is what I do to display them, and then I have signs, you know, with the prices on them nearby. It's what I have found works best for me. And I'm talking now about an indoor art show. The other thing I do is I bring a basket that looks like this. This is actually a little basket I made. And so it has the egg in different stages. Like this is showing where I've removed part of the wax. And then I'll have a kiska and wax in front of it, and it'll say, I have a little sign that says sequence of a Pysanka. So people can see, because they'll say, oh, how did you paint that? Well, I didn't paint it. I wrote it using my kiska and my wax, you know, so I can kind of explain it. It's a little bit of a visual. It helps people understand why I am asking what I am for an egg, because of the amount of work involved. So it just helps people understand the process a little better. Some people do this with a series of pictures too. Whatever works for you. So this is how I do this for an indoor display. I have a carousel that I use for my jewelry, but the jewelry is pretty durable. It's not going to break if it falls on the floor. These will, so I'm protective of them. I just like to make sure that they're as safe as possible. And yeah, there have been a few broken at craft shows. It happens. It's part of dealing in a fragile art. So this is how I display them at an indoor art show. Now, I have only ever done 2 outdoor shows since I have been selling, and both times I was so worried that they were going to fall and break, and I did everything I could to secure the eggs. I only took chicken and goose. I didn't take anything bigger because I was just too worried about a big gust of wind coming up, and in both cases I was on top of concrete. If I'd been on top of grass, maybe I would have felt differently. But what I did to display them, I put them in this, it's a clear plastic box. And I put a little bit of tissue in it. I'll just use, and then I put the egg in it, obviously, you know, one that was done. And then it closes up, and they can see the egg. But yet, you know, if it gets rattled around, it's probably going to be okay. The other thing I did was I had a big basket, and I put a brick in the bottom of it, and I put a towel over that so that a gust of wind would have a little harder time blowing it off the table. But those things happen, so you have to be ready for them. So I have these boxes that I display in. I recently got a different kind of box that looks like this, and this one's kind of nice. I got this from Clear Bags. The other one, I bought them years ago, I don't remember. But I bought these from Clear Bags. You just kind of open it up, and the bottom just kind of goes together. That other one, you had to fit tabs together. Okay, say it just goes together, and then it didn't, but okay. So the bottom just goes together. And then it's got 3 windows on it, and then the back. These feel a little sturdier, and same thing, a little bit of tissue in the bottom. The reason I do that is if I don't put the tissue in the bottom, you know, then it's really rolling around, and that makes me nervous too. So it just like a 1/4 sheet of tissue paper, and I kind of mash it down, and in these I try to mash it so that it's kind of against the solid part, but a little bit on the bottom, but covering the bottom. And then the egg can go inside, and you get a pretty nice little display of the egg. Oops, there you can't see it. Well, I'm tipping it upside down, but if it were, let's see, there you can see it better. So for an outside display, I would probably use something like that if I ever did it again. Now, one thing, I've seen pictures, because I've been kind of watching this. The other reason I don't do the outside ones is it's great if it's a beautiful day outside, but, you know, if it's not, if it's rainy or icky, then you're dealing with the elements too. I have seen people who will use like a big shadow box type thing, a deep one, and they'll put the eggs in that. And I thought, oh, that was a really cool display. People could walk by, they could see them. They had it arranged so that it opened, so they were behind the table and it opened up. So that way somebody couldn't easily come up and lift up the lid and take something out. You had to really lift the lid up from behind the table, which was where the person was seated. The other thing someone did was used, it was like a plexiglass box, kind of like a big aquarium. And I thought, well, now that was a good idea because that was something heavy that wasn't going to blow away. So those are good ideas to use to display eggs as well. For me, the problem is, where would I store that stuff when I'm not at a craft show, which my space is starting to get more and more limited. So these baskets for me work well. Like I said, I mainly do indoor shows because of the type of art that I have. So that's how it is when I sell in person. I find it's easy. When you're selling in person, you're able to talk to people and explain what it is a little bit better, especially if they're not familiar with it. And it helps to sell your product to people who are interested in it. So that's what I do there. Now, the other thing I have started to do is to sell my eggs in a retail setting at a new gallery called the Art Corner. And if you're in Central Illinois, the Art Corner is in Germantown Hills, Illinois. The address is 395 Old Germantown Road, which is actually like a frontage road for Route 29. So if you come into Germantown Hills, there's only one stoplight, and the Art Corner is at that stoplight with some other businesses too. But anyway, so there, I'm not there. So I have to have different ways to display the eggs that are secure, that I feel comfortable leaving my egg there for somebody else. And also, it has to be easy for whoever is working in the shop to sell my egg. So the bigger eggs, I have the boxes for them. They are in the workroom. The other eggs that I'm selling are already in a box, the clear plastic box. And I'll show you that video next. So if I am displaying in a retail setting where I'm not going to be present all the time, I want the eggs to be secure. So these eggs are in a locked cabinet. Please ask for assistance. And there's some other fine art in here that is ceramics. So this is where they're kept. And if I'm not here, there are instructions in the art book, the artist book, in the back that says the boxes for these eggs and where they're located, and the boxes have the picture of the egg on them so people know what's included. So this is some of my art at the Art Corner, and this is some of my other art at the Art Corner. And in this case, I have them in these little clear plastic boxes so you can see the egg, but it's kind of safe. So, you know, if it would fall, it would be okay. I'm not going to jiggle it too much. Anyway, so these are, I have some pumpkin eggs here. And then the other thing that's important when you're in a retail setting is that you have your items labeled with your name and then a price. And so the price here is listed there. And on the ones in the case, they were on a tag. So you want it to be secure, you want it to be tagged with your name and tagged with the price, because you're not always going to be here to help sell the art. So you want to make sure that whoever is here can easily sell it and hand it off to the customer. So these are some different ways that you can display your eggs in the setting of a art show or a retail setting. And there's lots of other ways. I encourage you to go out and look at Pinterest and Facebook and YouTube and all those other places and see how other people set up their displays. There are tons of ideas out there. So I hope this has gotten you started on different ways that you can display your eggs for selling them.